नमस्ते और आप सभी का स्वागत है। वेरी सॉरी वी मिस्ड द लास्ट संडे एएमए। पिछली बार का एएमए हम नहीं कर पाए बिकॉज आई वाज ट्रैवलिंग। तो ट्रैवल में एएमए पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता है। तो अब हम चलते हैं आज के कार्यक्रम में, और आप लोगों को जो प्रश्न पूछने हैं वो आप दो प्रकार से पूछ सकते हैं। आप व्हाट्सएप के माध्यम से पूछ सकते हैं और आप सुपर चैट से पूछ सकते हैं। देयर आर टू वेज इन विच यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस थ्रू व्हाट्सएप। द नंबर इज स्क्रॉलिंग बिलो द स्क्रीन, एंड of course you can ask also through the super chat. So let's embark on today's journey. Team Mandir, namaste Acharya Sanjay ji. Did Jews fund the British colonialism? I must tell you that most of such claim mostly comes from Eurocentric and Hindu-phobic, and also a few alleged pro-Hindu blogs. I don't think the Jews funded British colonialism in any manner. Not Jews as a community. There may be some stray Jews who might have invested, but not Jews as a community, as far as I know. Okay, next. Om Namaste ji. What is the current status of territorial army? The government wants to train Agniveers on driver, barber, etc. skills as stated by Modi government ministers. Then can't TA be used? Well, that is one of the ways that they can be utilized, but TA is basically a reserve force, and TA can do various jobs, and it can do a lot of civilian jobs also. I remember territorial army was very successfully used when I was posted in the desert areas. At that time, the territorial army units were used to do afforestation on the bank, on the right, on the left bank of Indira Gandhi Canal, because the slope was going from left to right, and all the irrigation was happening on the right side towards the Pakistan border. But left side, the lands could not be allotted to the farmers because of the upward slope. So a lot of land was allotted, and territorial army worked there to do afforestation. Also, I remember the Masuri, greening of the Masuri hills. So these are the kind of jobs that the territorial army does. It even has an Ashoka Chakra, Kirti Chakra, 5 Ati Vishisht Seva medals, and it has a Director General, the rank of the Lieutenant General, and it is basically an army civilian authority, army civilian auxiliary basically, and has a size of about 40,000. And it has some regular troops, but officers are mostly part time. They have to serve, I think, about 40, 50 days in a year or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, because I know two people. I know the MP of Barmer, Manvinder Singh, son of Jaswant Singh. He was a major in the territorial army. Also, Sachin Pilot, he's also there in the territorial army. But as far as driver, barber, electrician, and things, and of course, Vijay Varghese ji stated security guards. These are the kind of jobs that they are wishing for the Agniveers, and they're stating it openly like this. I think they are creating trouble for themselves. There's already so much of disaffection, and this kind of loose talk, I would say, very, very ill-advised talk, is going to make matters worse. Because on the one hand, they are saying that we will help you graduate, we'll give you 50% credits for graduation. The education ministry is coming out with a scheme where their practical training will amount to 50% credits for graduation. So you only need to do 50% courses more to earn your graduation degree. And on the other hand, here are ministers who are stating things like this. Definitely, they will learn trades, and if they want, they can do. But then, I'm not sure what they're trying to do. They probably want to create more disaffection. There already is enough, more than BJP is able to handle in many states. Next, Krishna Sundar. Can Blue Book protocol stop Green Book protocol? Well, it's again something that is in the realm of future, but then things looking quite ominous to me, at least right now, because there is no clarity of how they want to go about it, how they want to amend the Blue Book protocol. Next, Krishna Sundar is banning transit of Russian goods by Lithuania, a flashpoint that could lead to an actual war as opposed to a special military operation. Yes, it is definitely it is definitely major issue. It is like the red rag to the bull, and if they want to spark off a war between NATO and Russia, a full-fledged one, I think this is the right way to go about it. Yes, Sani, if you want to join JD, what is the process? Well, we don't have a joining button yet on the Jaipur Dialogues, but you can always become. mm, uh, we have subscription plans, which you can see on the jddigital.in, and those subscription plans. I would request the console to highlight those subscription plans in the description. And if you want to join as an employee, then then you please write to careers at the rate jddigital.in. Swabodhi, namaste ji. Future of J&K, West Bengal, and Kerala. Quite bleak as of now. Not because of anything else, but because the state doesn't have a clue. In fact, they don't even have a clue that these have become borderline cases. हमटी, होपफुली आपने बाल नरेंद्र और बाल अब्बास का वीडियो देख लिया होगा, शेयर्ड बाय मी. नहीं देखा है हमटी जी, आप ज़रा बताएं आपने कहाँ शेयर किया है, so I will try and locate it. Recently I've been all your videos related to Gandhi. Why was Gandhi so inclined towards Muslims? किस बात का इतना प्रेम था उन्हें? क्या उनके बचपन में भी कोई अब्बास था? भाई अब उनके बचपन के अब्बास का तो मुझे पता नहीं, मुझे ये ज़रूर मानता हूँ कि he belonged to, his mother belonged to, he came from a family that belonged to what is called the Pranami sect. Now this Pranami sect has these curious inclination towards the Muslims. So, well, that could explain it. But एक कैलनबाख तो था, ये तो मुझे पता है. कैलनबाख was the reputed to be the lover of Gandhi, and that Kallenbach was, of course, the positive, and Gandhi was the negative. Remember? Tanmay Pandey, was M.K. Gandhi the hidden caliphate? Was he the biggest propagator of Deen ki Dawat? I don't know whether he did it willingly. It doesn't look like he did it knowingly, but then he definitely, all his actions facilitated that. All his actions led towards the partition. Almost all his actions. Tanmay Pandey does making masjid over our Hindu temples, naming Taj Mahal, Qutub Minar as the architecture of Islamist rulers, represent the pinnacle of taqleed, wherein instead of copying the Muslim rulers, just stole the whole monument and named after themselves. I don't know where does taqleed come into this. Taqleed simply means copying, imitating, imitation. So that imitation is that they're supposed to copy the actions or the sayings of their Malana, the alim. So taqleed is with respect to the higher clerics. So it is not with respect to copying the architecture or copying the buildings. That's different. That will come in the realm of plagiarization. Next, चाहत सिंह चौहान, इस समय काशी ना भूलें, सब कवर अप है। काशी तो कौन भूल सकता है, महादेव की नगरी काशी, तीन लोक से न्यारी काशी। काशी को कोई नहीं भूल सकता। शक्तिमान चैनल सर, गुरुदत्त जी की बुक्स कैसी हैं अलॉन्ग विद सावरकर? गुरुदत्त जी की कई पुस्तकें मैंने पढ़ी थी, लेकिन वो मैंने बचपन में पढ़ी थी, जिसमें मुझे थोड़ा बहुत जो याद है वो याद है मुझे, वैशाली की नगर वधू, वयम रक्षामः, वो ये टाइटल याद है, विषय वस्तु अब मुझे याद नहीं है। लेकिन गुरुदत्त की कई पुस्तकें मैंने पढ़ी हैं जब मैं स्कूल में था। और भाषा की, विषय वस्तु की, उनकी ऐतिहासिकता के बिंदु से, उसकी दृष्टि से बड़ी मानक पुस्तकें थी। नेक्स्ट, Vaibhav Datta Tiwari, to save our Sanatan Dharma for further genocides, don't we have to take decisive action now, which could be a China model to contain Islamists? I agree, but then who are the we? The questions are who are the we? And this is what we have been discussing, and now we or our group is coming to the conclusion that the Rashtra simply cannot depend on the Rajya. And those who want to be Rashtra Bhakt do not necessarily have to depend on the Raj or have to be Rajya Bhaktas. So that is a very important distinction that we have to make. So that this we that you mentioned in your question, that needs to be defined properly. Next. Vijender, can the police use pellet guns all over India instead of lathi charge and tear gas? Yes, they can. All they need to do is to form a protocol for which they don't have to get law done, that they can do under their rules, even under executive instructions. All they need is what is called guts. They need to have the guts to do it. And except Modi and Hemant Sharma, I haven't seen any guts on display. हम टीम मोदी जी का स्टेटमेंट, मैं इस्लाम के खिलाफ नहीं और जो इस्लाम के खिलाफ वो हिंदू नहीं. Your opinion? Why do you ask my opinion? The statement in itself shows, and I think it was made soon after the Gujarat riots, when he was trying to establish his, or rather, he was trying to water down his anti-Muslim image. The point is that he doesn't seem to have gotten out of it, or maybe he just concealed it for some time in order to win 2 elections, and after that seems to be back to that. Next. Vijayendra, was it necessary for Fadnavis to halt metro constructions due to RA protest? Couldn't they be suppressed or court orders be ignored? The court orders cannot be ignored. After all, he's the chief minister. He cannot say you ignore the court orders. But then he did restart it, and that court stay was got vacated, if I remember right, and they were about to restart it. They probably restarted it also. Yes, they restarted it, if I remember right. But then the new government came, and the new government reversed that whole thing, and that is still stuck. That whole thing. Slayer. PP Guruji, Ashirvadam, I have absolutely no doubt that they will somehow include Shariat in some twisted manner into UCC if ever they find guts in their balls to table that bill. Ram Mandir in 370, they had to just cause it was on the original agenda of Bhajapa. Otherwise, they would have abandoned it, and after UCC, they will completely don their Congress avatar. They cannot be in UCC with Shariat in it. Because if you see the original debate, which I have actually penned an article on it, also mentioned it to all of you, then they have to go by the mandate of the constitution that they cannot keep Shariat into it. No way. Next, Vijender, can AFSPA be easily imposed on Punjab and Bengal in current situation, or are there any prerequisites for the same which aren't met? They can, but they don't seem to have the inclination. Otherwise, Bengal was a very fit case. It is even today a fit case for president's rule. Slayer, Sir Akal Takht Jathedar has risen his Khalistani head now by openly calling for modern weapons training for Sikh community to fight against Indian army just like they did in 1984, and heaped praises on Bindiwale. Is the present government the weakest government we ever got? Even ABV did not look so weak with the coalition. Yes, the jury is out on that subject because ever since Shaheen Bagh, um, this government seems to be showing major weaknesses. Next. Vijender, are you aware of any syllabus changes in UP Assam to teach correct history, or are they same as NCERT? I am not aware, so I would not comment on it. But the UP, I only remember when I was learning, they the UP board did not used to have NCERT books. In fact, there was no NCERT books at that time. We were lucky. Um, but UP board doesn't necessarily have to have that. Whether it has or not, I am not sure. Robakul Gandhi's sole force, poverty, no procreation, no physical force, even in the face of certain death, is nihilism, cowardice, and against Vedic teachings. I agree 100%. So ridiculous. Should it be called LOL force? You can call it LOB force also. And B stands for, you can try and crack the code. Next. Slayer. So James Bond has assured Iran that puppet offenders will be given punishment which will be a precedent for others. So Haratiddas have now got legal sanction to insult our God, but Sanjay sir will be punished for giving Deen ki dawat. Well, the James Bond seems to have gone to undergone some kind of conversion. Next. Vijender, is there any law in India to prohibit Bandh shutdown calls by the organizations? If not, can this be enacted? It doesn't have to be enacted. All you need to do is to pass an order under Section 144 and you can ban them due to law and order problems. And very often, when you don't get permission, this is the law under which it is done. Next. Slayer, sir, why can't there be a centralized examination system based on their books formulated legally without controversy of Article 25 for anyone who wish to change their faith from Indic religions to others? Well, there's no such prescription. There's no such prescription, and the state is not supposed to interfere in religious matters. Propagation is a fundamental right. Next. Vijender, industries in India pay exorbitant rates for electricity. Can some states in India provide electricity at subsidized or market rates, or will this acquire centers' approval? No, but now you can buy electricity anywhere. The industries can buy electricity from anywhere and pay wheeling charges to the states through whose grid that particular electricity is evacuated. And that provision is very much there in the Electricity Act now. Next. Mr. Tapas Vishwas requests episodes on one demographic history of Bengal, food habits across India, both spanning Harappa to independence. Please suggest good books to read. Good books to read on demographic history of Bengal. I think R.C. Majumdar's volumes have a lot of history of Bengal. And food habits across India. Well, food habits across India hasn't really formed a core part of history curriculum, though there would be books, but I am not aware of. Both spanning Harappa to independence. You will find it you read R.K. Majumdar. All the cultural elements and everything are there. R.K. Majumdar's, I think, 11 volumes or 13 volumes, whatever. शक्तिमान चैनल से केरला तमिलनाडु के इतिहास पे अच्छी बुक्स. So please read नीलकंठ शास्त्री. Neelakanta Shastri. Next. Rishikesh Rajwade, what is the current level of awareness across Hindus in India? I have no way to measure it, but if I compare it to 2014, so if suppose it was at the level of 15 to 20, and today I would reckon it is doubled, so it would be about 30 to 40. And we need to take it to something like 60 to 80. So we need to double it one more time. If it has doubled in 8 years, so in the next 6 years, we need to redouble it. Nataraj Chaturvedi. We Janta were pining for combo of Narasimha Rao plus Savarkar like leader in PM chair. We got a Gandhi worshipping Lenin Wadi instead. Phuti Kismat. Oh, well, yes. And today I was going through the BJP constitution. So whatever he is doing is in keeping with the BJP constitution. They're supposed to follow Gandhian socialism and progressive policies, modern progressive policies. That's what the constitution says. And because he loves the constitution so much, the Indian constitution, so BJP constitution is also sacrosanct for him, I guess. So he follows the BJP constitution. We didn't read the BJP constitutions when we voted for them. I think we can read now. Arjun Sharma, after seeing riots which keep happening in India every year, why don't any IAS, IPS, or Chief Justice do anything? Are IAS, IPS judiciary independent? Well, IAS and IPS can't do anything because they are completely under the control of their state governments. So you leave them out. Judiciary is supposed to be independent, but judiciary, unfortunately, is still in a colonial mindset, and nothing's been done in the last 10, 15, 20 years to dilute the colonial mindset. All the things that have been undertaken have only gone to reinforce that mindset. Next. Slayers are all Haratiddas are regaling and sharing memes that one Chubair brought the mighty Hindu government to its knees. They are emboldened and will now on dog whistle the Arabs whenever there is legal action against them. If this doesn't shame the pseudo Hindutva party, I don't know what will. I agree. We have done enough episodes on that event, and we are genuinely ashamed, just as you are. Next. Vijender, when will Ajit Doval retire? NSA doesn't retire. He is retired. There is no retirement date for NSA. He stays at the pleasure of the government. Next. Slayers are the Agnipath scheme benefit Haratiddas again and get them militarily trained to initiate civil war. As usual, no narrative building before bringing any countrywide scheme and leaving the ground open for Lely to hijack the space and simply refuse to learn the lesson. Don't know which high horse are they riding on. I don't think so because, right now in the army, uh, you have basically, I'm just talking about the army. There are four arms: infantry, which is the biggest one, then there is artillery, then there is armored, and then there is engineers. Now, this single class and fixed class has about 70% of the army units, right? But 30% is all India, all class. In artillery, 75% is all India, all class. And in engineers and in armored, it is virtually all India, all class. I haven't seen any evidence that the Haratiddas have been able to make it to the all India, all class units with any degree of success. They haven't. They haven't succeeded. So even if you make it all India, all class, though there are very many good points with the single class units. For instance, what will happen to the Gurkha regiments? Your best fighters. There is no answer forthcoming from anyone. I've asked a lot of people. They don't seem to have a clue. You just want to get rid of your best fighting units, the best fighting people. Come on. This fetish about everybody is equal is nonsense. Sanatan Dharma is very clear about it. Eko Vashi Sarva Bhutantaratma. That basic essence in everybody is the same. But ekam Ekam Rupam Bahudha Iha Karoti manifests in different forms. So, difference or honoring the difference is one of the fundamentals of Sanatana Dharma. The problem with the policy makers is that they are all so Abrahamized that they want to homogenize everything. And in that, they forget that there is great virtue in honoring the difference, accepting the difference, and exalting the difference actually. Next. Vijender, why did Congress allow partition of Andhra when it made them lose in both the states? I think this is a huge miscalculation on part of Sonia Gandhi. And if there was one passport they always had for bouncing back into the reckoning at the national level, that was the United Andhra Pradesh. You remember? They came back in 2004 and 2009 only and only because of Andhra Pradesh. In 2009, of course, they got a little more in Maharashtra and UP also in Rajasthan. But in 2004, it was the 34 seats that they got out of Andhra Pradesh that catapulted them ahead of BJP. That was the difference. And very foolishly, they let it slip. Now they are not even number two in both the places. Next. Slayers, or as if they did not have enough egg on their face, the master stroke Wadis are going on circulating some fake survey that 80% Indians support BJP action on Nupur. This is not delusional, don't know what better word for this. It is delusional. No better word, I agree with you. Next. Vijender, do you think Hindutva forces are now beyond BJP RSS control? They can suspend Nupur but can't do anything to JD to Falji ex Muslims. After all, majority country is non BJP. I think so. I would tend to agree with you because uh, Hindutva forces have consolidated themselves, taking advantage of the environment that prevailed after 2014. The RSS and the BJP have been very uneasy about it. Wherever they have had an opportunity, they have tried to thwart it. But increasingly, they're losing the grip. That's what my impression is. So I tend to agree with you. Slayer, sir, has Marde Mujahid achieved, which all Islamic nations have not been able to do till date, by enabling the Ummah to regroup against mushriks and thereby delaying Pakistan balkanization, giving legal sanctions for what it does here to hound anybody speaking against Popat. I don't have to go again and again into that. I have done enough episodes on the capitulation to Qatar. It was very unfortunate, and well, it was unfortunate, and it showed a lack of comprehensive national power. Vijender, is it possible for Nupur Sharma to challenge a suspension in court, as she merely stated the scriptures, thus not violating BJP constitutions? Well, technically you might say so, but then practically it doesn't happen. Because if that were to happen, then uh, she would definitely not be able to continue in the BJP. So she has to have her priorities. Next. Slayer. So can we make a constitutional provisions to allow only maximum 2 terms for anyone aspiring for the PMCM and HM post? Yes, constitutionally it can be done. It can definitely be done. The Supreme Court did it for the BCCI. Remember? Hmm. Next. QWERTY, sir. King Ashoka never existed. All the Ashoka pillars erected by James Prinsep are fake. Just do the carbon dating. I can share my analysis with you. Please comment. I'll have to see your analysis to be able to comment. Please do send it. Send it on our email. Slayer, sir, is the call for toning down and castigating Owaisi by Jamiat Ulema Hind Al Taqiyya. Same Devandi Barelvi sweet talk of 1947. Barelvi did no sweet talks. Devandis did. And Devandis were a minority of about 20%. So I don't think the comparison is quite apt. Jamiat Ulema Hind is Devandi, basically. Barelvis don't seem to be doing any sweet talk because Owaisi is Barelvi. He is not bound by Jamaat Ulama Hind Takaya. Next. अरिंदम सरकार गुरु जी चरण स्पष्ट नूपुर शर्मा के बारे में वेस्ट बंगाल सबसे ज़्यादा सेंसिटिव हो गया. मैं चिकने के आसपास रहता हूँ, इसलिए दोनों जुम्मे की पहले हर मस्जिद इमाम और मौलाना को व्यक्तिगत रूप से धमका के कुछ भी बुरा करने से रोक लिया. नहीं तो नॉर्थ बंगाल की परिस्थिति और भी ख़राब होता. मैं और कुछ मित्रों ने मिलकर ये काम किया, लेकिन कोलकाता के आसपास में ये हो नहीं पाया, इसलिए वहाँ पर ज़्यादा बवाल हो गया. सिर्फ घर वापसी इन लोगों के इलाज नहीं है. हमारी दीदी हाथ जोड़ रही है इन लोगों के सामने. तो दीदी जो किया उसका परिणाम भुगतेगी. आप क्या सोचते हो कि ये लोग पावरफुल हो जाएंगे तो दीदी को रहने देंगे सीएम, खुद बनेंगे? क्या किया आपके बदरुद्दीन अजमल ने? जैसे ही पावरफुल हो गया उसने अपनी अलग पार्टी बना ली और कांग्रेस को अपनी उंगलियों पर नचाने लगा. नेक्स्ट. ड्रीम बॉय, प्रणाम गुरु जी. डू यू बिलीव देयर इज सम ट्रूथ टू ब्लैक मैजिक पैरानॉर्मल थिंग्स? अगर कोई इससे व्यथित है तो समाधान बताइए. I have no personal experience of it, but a lot of people say that they have personal experience, so I will neither say yes nor no. Let me stay neutral on this. Slayer against a Delhi High Court opines that occasional adultery by women cannot be a ground to deny maintenance, but jails husband for mental cruelty if he performs adultery. Something sinister is happening to break our family system while country is busy on other issues. Yes, definitely. These people are all woke leftists. And they're learning from the leftist idiom, which the governments have done nothing to correct. And they don't even seem to have a clue, as I've been asserting repeatedly. But we were able to save the day when the wokes could not get the marital rape judgments through. So I think we've saved the day at least for some time. Next. सीमंत दास, अच्छा तो अब्बास के लिए बंगाल शाहीन बाग बकायत आंदोलन नूपुर शर्मा में हिंदुओं के पीठ में छुरा घोपा गया है. अब तो कहना पड़ेगा जो अब्बास का यार है वो हिंदुओं का. ओके ओके, योर ओपिनियन सर. सीमंत दास, ओके, डन. SK Agnipath can be used by jihadis to get proper training for 4 years, get rupees by many also, and use the skilling done by him. Can this be ignored? See, I mentioned it to you that even in the army, so almost 60% of the army is already what is called All India All Class, including all the four arms of the Indian Army. And I see no evidence of the jihadis being able to get in. Next. Mihir Hardas Golwalkar wrote about India deriving inspiration from Germany's attempt to purge of foreign races. Did he not have understanding of world politics? Well, please give me the exact quote, then I will be able to opine. I would not like to give an opinion without having the full context. because I don't remember having read this passage. What about your UPSC coaching plan? Okay. Talking about it because it needs a lot of thinking through. So, still talking about it. Next. Slayers, or how come there was no resistance by Herat Das or Pavagadh temple reclamation? Mardin Mujahid must have given some carrot in lieu of this. Well, that particular dargah is located next to the temple. It has not been shifted out of the temple complex. So there has been some kind of what is called give and take, mandwali as we call it. Next. श्रीमंत दास, यार मोदी जी, आप मौलाना साद को ही देश का राष्ट्रपति बना दो, अब यही औकात रह गया है आपकी. योर कमेंट. थैंक यू. नेक्स्ट. Slayer. All Harati does swear by Akhirat, Kufr, and Jannat. But when interviewed on the streets or in public, they always hesitate to state it and start making jalebis around it, which shows somehow they feel perturbed too. So, how do they reconcile with this dichotomy inside their heads, even if they have to do taqleed? Well, I guess somehow, somewhere, they love the idea of being members of the power group, the group that wields power, whether they hold the power directly or not. I think that's what the gratification. That's what the gratification is. वेगराज सिंह, नमस्कार सर. राजस्थान में बीजेपी से सीएम कौन होगा? गजेंद्र सिंह शेखावत, सतीश पुनिया या वापस मैडम ही? अब भाई अभी तो बहुत कहना कुछ मुश्किल है. हालांकि इसमें से एक आप मैडम को निकाल दीजिए, मुझे नहीं लगता कि मैडम किसी भी प्रकार से होंगी. नेक्स्ट. Slayer, sir, is it not concerning that the Haratiddas will now take a cue and destroy all evidences from all the illegal masjids around the country? And there are already messages floating around among Haratiddas of steps of cleaning evidence. And that is happening, definitely. It's difficult to check everywhere. But then there are at least 1,000 monuments where the very structure is a temple. What will they do about that? Won't be able to do anything about it. Just like Kashi Vishwanath. That very structure is a temple. Anybody can see. Anybody with two eyes can see that. Doesn't require an expert. हमटी. मोदी जी का स्टेटमेंट, मैं इस्लाम के खिलाफ नहीं, और जो इस्लाम के, ये तो हो गया. वी ऑलरेडी डिस्कस दिस. Slayer, sir, how was the very first allocation of Varna done? Since there is no Prarabdha Karma to judge from, or is it a post event? Well, I haven't given that a thought. Slayer, I haven't given that a thought. Next. Rupa Rao Chandrasparsh Guruji, with all the opposition going on regarding Agnipath, do you think BJP has shot itself in the foot? Is it all set to lose 2024 elections provided Yogi ji is announced as the PM candidate? If that happens, what should the strategy of common Hindus be going forward? It's definitely shot itself, whether in the foot or in the heart or in the head, that we cannot say. But then, wasn't a really bright idea to do it this way. The third eye, Namaste sir, I am an NRI. The way BJP is going in situation in our country, thinking of coming back to Bharat and join politics. Looking for your support and Ashirwad. Jai Hind. Definitely, definitely. The third eye, we're most welcome. Why not? Why not? Next. Shalidhar, Namaskar Sanjay ji. Can you please start beginners oblique introductory sessions for Vedas, Upanishads, and Bhagwat Gita ji, 10-minute sessions. Okay, let me think about it. That would be a lot of work. Yes, definitely. Next. Akshay Soni, sir, the 498 and other dowry laws are misused by ladies and police and cause sell. What's the solution for innocent men, sir? Please reply. Well, there was a solution which was let go by our policy makers when the amendment last came. That was, of course, during the, I think that was during Atalji's time, I think. And at that time, the provision had been made to make this offense compoundable. By compoundable, we mean that you could compromise. But then these feminists got into it, and through Sushma Swaraj ji, they scuttled it. And that, I think, is still the best solution. You make this offense compoundable so that it is possible for husband and wife to reconcile, because at times the ladies can get misled by vested interests, but when they realize, they are not even able to come to a compromise because of its non-compoundable nature. So making the offense compoundable will address a lot of issues. Who do you think be next PM face after Modi by BJP? Well, I can see only two contenders, either Yogi or Amit Shah, or maybe Gadkari. Next. Ishan Kumar, sir, I think reservation system in education and job is also a hindrance to Hindu community unity and create jealousies between communities. Well, it will create jealousies either way, if you have it or you don't have it. Either way, there will be some jealousy or the other. Next. Slayer, so now that we know the real face of Sufism, how do we reconcile the characters of Mansur al Halaj, Sarmad Kashani, Bule Shah with Islam, since it is claimed that they had accepted Islam? Well, they had, well, Mansur al Halaj, all of them would be called Muslims, all of them, but then there was that different brand. There was a different brand of Islam at that time. It used to be called what is called Mutazalli, or it was also called uh, Tahqiqi. That brand of Islam, that brand of Islam got squashed by the people who were called Asharites, or those who followed Sharia. And the Bulle Shah, the Sarmad, and Halaj, they belong to the earlier stream. So that is the difference. QWERTY, please have a look into First Council of Nicaea. Helena, who was the mother of Constantine, cooked up Bible Jesus Torah at Nicaea in 325 AD. Jesus is modeled after Apollonius. Moses after Egyptian Akhenaten. Both Jesus and Moses never existed. Well, Moses figures in the Old Testament, and Old Testament has predated Constantine. So I would beg to differ with you on this. Next. QWERTY, please have a look into First Council. This already discussed. Shivam Namaskar, Sanjay Guruji. Britishers made a law for no living in Devasthanam. I think it's still available and yet not applied in peacefuls have been living. It was relaxed by the previous government, the BJP government. That's how this whole thing's happened. BJP has done some great things against Hindus. Next, Slayer again. Sir, should we hype the shivling issue considering the worst case scenario where court declares that it is not, then they will turn the whole narrative, will turn against us as the whole of Panchamakars is immense. Yes, but then you got to take the risk. You can't say that okay that we run the risk of losing it, so we'll not fight it out. We have to fight it out. Next, Shivam, last khutbah of so-called prophet was to bribe the leaders of Kafirs with the zakat money. Deendar are exactly doing same, spending it to media, political parties. I doubt if PPSSC has also got some bite of zakat. That he is on the path of Gandhi instead on the path of Sri Guruji, who's bunch of thoughts. Your views, Guruji, your thoughts. By the way, I am Sanghi too. As I have explained a number of times earlier, that this pollution in the thinking of Sangh hasn't happened only with the present PPSSC. We have discussed a number of times the Sapta Siddhanta or the Ashta Siddhanta that crept into RSS lexicon after the 1992 Babri Masjid demolition. They got affected by some kind of a guilt, and then they started hankering after Muslim approval. And in those weak moments, they created these kind of tropes, which are now beginning to haunt them. The trouble was that the trouble is rather that at that point of time when they were doing all this, there was nobody to question them. There wasn't enough media glare on them. There was no way people could communicate with each other. But now, in the era of internet, these things cannot be hidden, and that is why there is so much of questioning. Slayer, sir, in hindsight, it was a good thing that Yogi Ji government did not resign the Mullah Yadav order of restricting Gauri Puja in KV temple so that a plea could be filed giving way to survey. Was this deliberate? See, I think you're going ahead of yourself in this because uh, even if even if they had been doing Gauri Puja, look, what is the plea? The plea is that they are doing worship only in the chowkhat. The real temple exists inside the mosque. So they're seeking to worship the Gauri, the original Gauri within the mosque. So that would have not made any difference, even if that order had been rescinded. And by the way, that 30 days a month worship of Shringar Gauri has already been restored. If you have been listening to my talks with Vishnuji, then you would realize that. Quality, please have a look into First Council of Nicaea. This already discussed. Swabodhi, was Gandhi sent by the British to sabotage revolutionaries and armed rebellion like what happened in 1857? Also, is Godse's statement in court still prohibited? No, Godse's statement in court is no longer prohibited. And Gandhi, now the general opinion is that Gandhi was indeed one such who was always acting to defend and benefit British interests. You can ask Kapil Kumarji. He is very, very vocal about it. Next. Shivam, Namaskar Guruji. Is this Agniveer a master stroke to force Pakistan and China to minimize the security so James Bond 007 can take POK and COK back? I think you're overrating James Bond. This again, this master stroke syndrome of ours is also responsible for crediting them with too much of great thinking. After all, it was James Bond 007 who invited ISI to Pathankot, if you remember. At that time, we ignored it. Next. Slayer, sir. Master stroke. The strongest MLA of the lot, Arjun Singh, has done Ghar Wapsi. Will they even get candidates to field in the next general election? I have already predicted. They are not getting any seats. Maximum one seat in Darjeeling. And there too, I don't know what is going to happen. This Gorkha regiments being diluted. How the Gorkhas are going to react in Gorkha land, I don't know. नेक्स्ट व्लादिमीर द हैंडसम टर्मिनेटर सर आप जी न्यूज़ और आज तक पर बार बार आइए और इस्लामिक जिहाद पर खुलकर बोलकर वहाँ के सेक्युलर एंकरों को खूब खिसियाइए आपसे ये एक मांग है मेरी आपकी मांग मुझसे होने से कोई अंतर नहीं पड़ता क्योंकि बुलाना तो उनको है ना वो उनकी चॉइस है मेरी चॉइस थोड़ी है कि मैं वहाँ जाऊँ नेक्स्ट Please share book list of UPSC aspirants because leftists capture this zone and they refer according to their ideology. Please share via WhatsApp so we can avoid those Marxists. We have done it in the past and we'll do it again. Slayers done. This question done. Ashu, so there are high chances that persons of particular mindset coming out of job after 4 years of Agniveer service may join ISIS or PFI against Hindus in India. You see, I've already answered this question twice today, and I do it again. Is that there is no evidence that in all about 60% of recruitment in Indian Army is all India, all class, and there is no evidence that there is any kind of undue infiltration. In fact, the numbers through this kind of induction are very, very small. And whatever numbers are coming in through the J&K Rifles, J&K LI, and what is called the mm, some of the artillery regiments which have the Qayam Khani element. So there's no evidence that this has happened in the past. Next. Claire, sir, you've seen Sandeep Dev podcast on Freemason Society and Sadhguru. Your thoughts? No, I haven't seen it. Next. Advani, do you agree with R.K. Sharma's comments on Qatar issues with Ajit Bharti? If there are 700,000 sleeper cells active right now in India, buying time to neutralize them is not a bad option. However, a strong nation is. At least we can say current government is strong based on the decisions in the past. It hasn't taken a strong decision over the past 2.5 years on internal security. So this seems to have become a pattern, and that's a very, very worrying pattern. The Lone Explorer Ji, thank you. Rana Singh, how Shah's surname is Hindu? Example, Amit Shah. Well, it can be. He's a Vaishnav Shah. There's also Jan Shah. Anybody who does that kind of work, basically, Shah is what? The Shah is a money lender. That can be anyone. We have what in Rajasthan they're called Bohras. A number of Bohras. Even Brahmins are Bohras. Our Jaipur MP, Ramcharan Bohra, is a Brahmin. But because they were in this money lending profession, they used to be called Bohras. Ditto for Shah. Uh, SK, can minority appeasement stop in Hindutva Sarkar? Like scholarship, Nadaji said, BJP not Bhagwa episode on Agnipath was great with Akshay plus Shastri ji. Thank you very much. And minority appeasement stop in Hindutva Sarkar? Doesn't look like. Doesn't look like. Even the pressure seems to be not working. Whatever pressure we might apply, it just seems to be going the other way. Next. प्रजापति के कुमार मोदी दूसरों को एक्सपोज करते हुए खुद एक्सपोज हो गए. थैंक यू फॉर योर कमेंट. नेक्स्ट. Shamir Mohapatra, Sanjay ji Pranam, what according to you are absolutely essential factors for setting a strong, competing, compelling narrative? Also, please tell us how you consume information and learn. Method of learning is sometimes underemphasized. What are the absolutely essential factors for setting a strong, compelling narrative? Well, how you set a narrative, a compelling narrative, is by the several ways. In fact, the book written by Vikram Sood is a beautiful book, how to set narratives. And narratives are set even if they are not truth, people are able to set narratives. So, setting narrative means that you have to create influence over your target audience. And that can be done in various ways. You can use Sam, Dam, Dand, Ved to create a narrative and sell it. Creating a narrative, and then more important than that, of selling that narrative. Like the British did, example. The British created a myth of Aryan invasion theory, sold it to us, and then also sold us a translation of Manusmriti and mistranslation rather of Manusmriti, and told us that we were always divided. And so, what if the British had come? The original inhabitants or the powerful inhabitants of this country were also invaders. So you know how the narrative is said like this among the Sikhs. They said the narrative. Now Sikhs are six things that they are Abrahamics. That their Ik Onkar is something like the symbol of God or Christ, monotheist. So these are all the miracles of narrative setting. Whereas we have always had the strongest foundations with which to set our own narratives, but we have shied away even from speaking the truth. And these narratives were all set by the British, backed by the governments through academia, by controlling the academia, by controlling education. We need to learn to do that. But the government doesn't seem to understand. It doesn't even seem to understand the importance of setting the narrative. They're always reactive. Ram. Agnipath, the fault is with GOI. Before any scheme is implemented, PM or ministers from the respective ministry should give out the details first, then implement the scheme after 2 or 3 months. Nowhere in the world new schemes are implemented this way. This is Mr. Modi's autocratic way of doing things. He thinks he's the king and others have to just follow his orders. Till now, he brought a lot of good schemes, land reform, CA, farm bills, etc. Most of the bills are either withdrawn or put in dormant state. A true leader is one who takes 2 steps forward and talks to the stakeholders directly and resolves the issue. Unfortunately, Mr. Modi is a very egoistic person. Ultimately, India will suffer in the long run. Yes, From what we have seen, the land reform, CA, farm bills, everywhere he brought it with great fanfare, and then he backtracked. So it was a question of one step forward and two steps back. Whereas a good leader will take two or three steps forward and keep a room for stepping back a little. Here it seems to be happening the other way around. Next. Vansh, Sanjay ji, do you believe in intercaste marriage? What do you, what is there to believe in intercaste marriage? People say that intercaste marriage among masses will ruin the gene pool and give birth to an inferior generation. What does our Shastra say? They see, intercaste marriages, you got to go to the origin. Caste means jati. So it is the jatis which have been endogamous. And that was actually done to preserve knowledge and to preserve compatibility, especially after the pressures from the invaders. It is possible for entire jatis to migrate into another varna. Please read my book, Krishna Gopeshwar and Krishna Yogeshwar, where these concepts have been elaborated uh, in fair detail. Kalyan Ram Ganji, how to make Kashmir Valley a Hindu majority area? What should be our strategy? It has to be a long term strategy. Do it the way that they Islamized. Just the reverse of it. Just the reverse of it. But then that needs state power. And that needs state power uh, to be conscious of their goal. That doesn't seem to exist. Shubham Pranam Guruji, BJP can't do anything. We need to enter the system. If you want the change, so on a serious note, please start the UPSC coaching. I mean, I agree with the first part, but how does that link with UPSC coaching? My doing UPSC coaching will not automatically get our followers into the IAS. Abhishek, blasphemy is defined as talking bad about God. Nupal talked about Muhammad and not God. That how is it blasphemy? That's how they define blasphemy. Gustakh Rasul, Gustakh Quran, Gustakh Nabi. Hmm? All kind of gustakhis are defined in their books. Next. Abhishek, yeah, please move to the next one. Rohan Kumar, what is your view on the cyber attack on Thane police station? Do you think Dharmic society should consider this as an avenue? Uh, no, I'm not clear why Dharmic society should look at this as an avenue. I mean, do you mean that we should invest in organizing cyber attacks? Please clarify your question. Jai Bharat, Jai Punjab. Will army be reduced in size from 12 lakh to 6 lakh men? Nothing is clear. The best part of this Agnipath scheme is that it doesn't make anything clear. Mayank Tiwari, namaste. Lots of negative comments and tweets coming on JD videos and tweets these days. You think haters or fans having difference of opinion? People can have difference of opinion. Our followers also can have differences of opinion. So, well, that's that's the hazard that opinions have. Next, please invite Sai Deepak ji before his next book launch. Okay, sure. Good, you reminded us. Next. Nataraj Chaturvedi, you think M's may vote for Modi in significant enough numbers in 2024? Ashraf and mullahs are not blind after all. They can see Modi is good for Muslims. They will never vote. Never. Never. Not a chance. डीपीएस ज़्यादा और अग्निपथ के कई पॉजिटिव पॉइंट्स भी हैं, कई नेगेटिव पॉइंट्स भी हैं. क्या हमने इसके बारे में सोचा कि हम इस योजना में जिहादियों को ट्रेनिंग लेने से कैसे रोकेंगे? वे भी तो इस क्रैश कोर्स का फ़ायदा उठाएंगे और जब सिविल वॉर की नौबत आएगी तो हमारा दुश्मन मिलिट्री ट्रेंड भी होगा. देयर इज़ नो एविडेंस ऑफ एनी लार्ज स्केल infiltration in the all India, all class sections of the military till now. So why should it be any different in future? Next. Disha Parik, being such a great creative society, how we did not see such brutal and uncultured people about a few thousand miles away. Thank you for all you do. Yes, that's something that I've always pointed out, that was a great failure of our uh, thinking class, our intellectual class. And that's what led to our enslavement. Shamir Mahapatra, second part of my earlier question was past, sir. How do you consume information and learn? Nobody tells us how to learn. It's mostly memorization we know. Please give examples so we can emulate. Samir, so the point about learning is that it's unique to everyone. So, my method of learning may not work for you, or your method of learning may not work for a third person. Your method of learning may not work even for me, for that matter. Because I remember time of examinations, I had a completely different protocol of how to go about the examination. Some people they study in the night, some people study during daytime, some people study early mornings. Uh, when I was preparing for UPSC, I used to work 6 to 6. It's 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And then 6 in the evening till about 11 o'clock, time I slept. I would do nothing. I would just enjoy myself, watch TV, do other things, have fun, whatever. But majority of the people that I have seen, they would study during the night and sleep in the daytime. If I did that, then I would have flunked completely because I couldn't retain anything during the night. So everybody has to devise his own method of learning. Good memory can help in a way. Then your attitude to learning also will help in a way. Like I generally, whatever I read, I try to go deep into it. I somehow go and try and look behind it. So that helps in retention. That definitely helps in retention. I have a very, very rapid rate of reading. Other people, most of the other people I have met don't have such rapid rate of reading. So that could be a handicap too. I mean, I can somehow, sometimes when I'm interviewing people, I take a book and about half an hour, I have read enough to be able to interview them. But a lot of other people may not be able to do it. Whereas there's some people who have what is called a photographic memory. I don't have a photographic memory. Whatever they read just seems to get imprinted on their mind. I rather follow the what is called the Patanjali Sutra, where Smriti is a vritti. So we don't want to get into too much of modification of mind through that vritti. It's better to be in open mind and learn as you go. Next. जादौन जी, अग्निपथ के कई पॉजिटिव पॉइंट्स हैं, ये तो हो गया साहब क्वेश्चन. दिस क्वेश्चन इज ऑलरेडी डन. Indefensible, namaste. You believe in astrology? If yes, then please refer a trustworthy astrologer to me. Share any experience. I do know something. I dabbled in astrology a fair bit myself. And then later on, I realized that, okay, astrology can be scientific in the sense that there is deep mathematics behind it, and you can have deep correlations also, and do predictions on the basis of that. But till today, I haven't met an astrologer, a true astrologer. No, the true astrologers are rare breeds, and you have to find them. You have to find them through a tooth comb. It's virtually impossible to find a true astrologer. People were charging money to make predictions. They can never do that. It is a divine power, and that divine power is not gifted to anyone. That is why I realized that I did not have that divine power. So I completely stopped. So about 20 years back, I was pretty good actually, but 20 years back I stopped. I did not want to interfere in the divine scheme of things. Next. Jai Bharat, Jai Punjab again. Could making Sikh regiment and Sikh light infantry regiments, all India regiments, play into the hands of Khalistanis, calling it anti-Sikh? Well, I haven't seen them saying anything as yet. Today I heard the Chief Minister of Punjab talking about it. So we have to wait and see how it plays out. But this could work against the BJP in a lot of other places. For instance, Jat regiment is there, the Rajput regiment is there, the Rajputana rifles are there, the Dogra regiment is there, the JNK ally is there, the Sikh regiment is there, Sikh ally is there, Punjab regiment is there, Dogra is there, JNK ally is there, JNK rifles are there, Kumaon is there, Garhwal is there, Bihar is there, Madras is there, Assam is there, Naga is there. Then there are 7 Gorkha regiments. So we don't know as yet. So far, we have seen violence in Bihar in a very big way. And there is a call in Rajasthan for 27th. And I think there's a call in Haryana also for 30th. Then in Jammu, there have been protests. Himachal also, I think they've started issuing statements. And there is something cooking in Uttarakhand as well. UP, you've already seen. In eastern UP, there has been a lot. So there is something, yes. The Lone Explorer, what is the percentage contribution by Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu in Indian Army? Well, Maharashtra has its own regiment, this Maratha Light Infantry, and a lot of artillery regiments where they get inducted. Karnataka has a couple of artillery regiments. Where is the question gone? Can you bring back the question, please? Gujarat. I think Gujarat is the blessed state that hardly has anybody in the army. Tamil Nadu people, they get recruited to Madras regiment. Percentage, I wouldn't be able to say. I wouldn't be able to say the percentage. Next. Okay, with that, we come to the end of today's show. Thank you all viewers. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.